feeling like game week for you? When do those butterflies really start taking over your stomach?
Actually, it was on Saturday, a couple days ago. I woke up and knew some games were being played, and I didn't sleep all that great. And so, yeah, had Saturday for practice. I had little butterflies going on. But, yeah, this feels like game week for sure.
What's the most encouraging thing you saw during fall camp that has you believing this team can win a championship and a bowl game and do it all with that excellence you talk about?
Well, I'm not going to go that far and talk about that. Obviously, that's our goal, but we need to take care of the details every single day. And I was pleased how the team practiced, how we prepared, the effort that was put forward. I think the thing last year kind of just created a foundation for what our standards and our expectations are. And so now it's time to just grind, through every day and one drill at a time and one day at a time, and then leave it all out there on the field on Saturdays.
And we're getting our first official look at your two deep after fall camp. What were the positions that you saw the most intense competition in, or the ones where it was kind of hardest to decide who was going to be your starter?
I think it was pretty cut and dry. I thought some guys that were new to the program that did a nice job, like Nick Abbs in the depth chart and on the offensive line, and Sherwin King as a freshman linebacker to be in the mix. I thought the kicking competition was really interesting throughout, and Asa did a really nice job. I think if you took one position that has improved the most in a year, that would be the kicking. Did a really nice job through camp of progressing, and so I think that was probably the most interesting competition that went through. We still have a lot of people in the mix, though, guys that may not be on the two deep but are right there that can provide some quality depth for us.
All right, we'll pass the mic around to the group. Mark.
Hey, Coach. I've heard a lot of football coaches say that training camp is about kind of establishing team's personality. What's this team's personality so far? What have you found out about this team's personality?
I don't think we found out anything different than what we knew last year. I mean, this team has a lot of experience and guys coming back. I think this has been a different camp just because last year being the first one of just how to approach each day, be it the schedule, what to expect, things like that. I think there's a lot of similarities as far as our work ethic and the way we run to the ball and the way we play hard and the way we practice hard. I think those are consistent with how we approached last season. Last season's over, though. Yeah, I want to make that perfectly clear that last season is not here anymore. This is a brand new campaign, and I get it, but we can't be naive to the fact that these kids are told by a lot of people through social media and things like that what the expectations are, but it's really our job as coaches to create an environment every day of the grind that needs to happen on a daily basis to just take care of one day at a time. And I think there's enough leadership on this team that understands that, and it's an exciting week. Obviously, first game, you have the first game jitters where you don't know what it's going to look like really. And so can't wait to cut it loose and let these guys go.
Hey, Coach, Michael Ford with the Collegian. Idaho was a team that went 4-8 last year. Ranked 112th in scoring. How do you keep your team from overlooking Idaho and taking them serious?
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is respect all and fear none. We talk about in that it's not really about who we play. It doesn't matter who we play. It's about how we play. It's about our preparation. It's about how we take the field. It's about how we execute the details. And you have to be consistent like that. You cannot go up and down through the year depending on what your opponent or who your opponent is. We have a lot of respect for Idaho. I know it's their first game. It's going to be something they've all been working towards as well. You never know what's going to come out being with new schemes, offensively, defensively, special teams, whatever it may be. So it's going to be really critical that we just focus on ourselves and on our preparation, what our standards are.
Coach, Marcus and George being named team captains, I know it's a player-driven thing, but what are your thoughts and what are your expectations for them this season?
Yeah, it is. It's player-driven in that the team voted on it. One of the great things about the voting was it was very close at the top, and there were numerous people, which is always a good sign. But I think Marcus has done a great job through the last year of really earning the respect of the team. Not just through his play last year, but the off-season leadership and what he brings to the team. The team gravitates towards him that way. And then George, George is a walk-on kid who earned a starting spot and obviously the respect of his teammates as well. And so those are just two guys. Those are the two that will be the captains, and then we'll switch it off. We'll have 4 captains each week. And those other ones that got a lot of votes, they will fill in to be those other 2. But, yeah, it was voted on by the team. And I expect out of those guys exactly what they've always shown, and that's hard work, dedication, and encouragement to their teammates. And obviously they do a good job in the locker room around their teammates, providing some leadership and some motivation there.
Your staff is mostly intact, but the biggest change, obviously, Bert Watts being elevated to defensive coordinator. How do you think he did in that role through the spring and the fall, and what has the players' response been to his coaching style in that role?
Yeah, he's done a good job. It's been fine. It's been exactly what I expected. Some consistency there with terminology for our players' sake. Bringing Kimwick Thompson in as the linebacker coach, I think brings some experience and some knowledge, having been a coordinator himself. So I think that room works really well together, and the players have been playing really hard, and so I think it's really been a seamless change. Even though Orlando did a great job last year managing that room and calling games, I think he's doing a really good job. Bert is.
Coach, if we could go back to Marcus and George getting named captains. Did you cross your mind at all that these are 2 local kids and maybe this could help long-term in your commitment to recruiting the Valley?
No, I think it's great that they are local kids, but that really had nothing to do with it because the team voted on it, But I think it's a great story for a guy like George, who was a walk-on and just kind of earned a starting spot last year to really earn that much respect in a short amount of time, as a starter. I don't think that happened in that short a time because I think people kind of know who he is and what he brings to the table. When someone gets nominated or voted as a captain, it's much more than what happens in practice. It's what goes on in the locker room. It's what goes on in the weight room. It's what goes on when they're at their apartments hanging out and things like that. So, but having 2 local guys as captains, just the way it turned out.
Any further questions?
Yeah, Coach, what kind of a leader is Marcus? Is he a vocal leader or is he kind of a lead-by-example guy?
Both. I think he's both. He's not a yeller or screamer by any means. He's more of a motivator, I think, than a guy who's really going to get in your face. He doesn't do that, but he's very encouraging to his teammates, very positive toward his teammates, communicates really well about what's expected on the football field, how we can get better. So he brings energy to the practice, but it's not, there's probably 2 types of vocal leaders, guys who really go crazy and are very loud. That's not him whatsoever. He has poise, and I think people respect him for his poise. But, we talk a little bit about, the difference between a leader and – because you ask a lot of kids now what's their style of leadership, and 99% are going to say I lead by example, just because of some of the positions and what their definition is of leadership. Kind of says, I'm the one who always has to talk, I'm the one who has to be perfect, I'm the one who has to hold everybody accountable. And a lot of kids don't like to be in that position. You know, it's a tough position to be in. So we talk a little bit more about being a motivator because if you're a motivator, we really believe that has a positive connotation and helps promote positivity on the team, and people rally around that a little bit more. So I would say Marcus is not only a leader but a great motivator for this team and his teammates.
Was there a particular moment where he became a leader? Did it happen last season in a game? Did it happen over the off season, perhaps?
No, I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. You know, I think he started out earning trust and confidence when he very first got here, on the way he approached it when he got here. He didn't come in here as the savior, as the guy who was at a Pac-12 school and they'll look at me and all that kind of stuff. He was very humble. He was very patient. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Last year had a lot to do with not only Marcus, but how Chase and Virgil handled the situation. Both those guys were quality guys. But I think just Marcus's demeanor overall from the very first day he got here had a big impact on how people gravitated towards him.
Do you have a real rah-rah vocal leader this year? Last year it was the center and the nose tackle. It seemed like the loudest guys out here.
Yeah, you know, there's not a ton of that. There's a couple, you know, but not a ton of that. James Bailey, you know, probably comes to mind as the guy who does that the most. But there's a lot of guys who do it, you know. I mean, there's a lot of guys that do it at a certain level, not over the top by any means, but when you go to practice every day, there's a lot of people that are vocal to get people ready to practice and get people ready to go. You know, so I think there's enough guys on this team. There's a good balance of people holding one another accountable, and that's not necessarily, you know, through yelling and screaming at all, because we're not big yellers or screamers. You know, it's more about motivation.
On defense, you're back 7. You return all 7 starters. Was there any competition at those spots for anyone could have beaten any of those 7 guys out? Was that going to happen?
Yeah, I think there's always competition there. Yeah, and you know, but when you have the experience that they have back there and they've played well in games, they've kind of taken it to another level now. Having one more year of playing together and how they communicate and how they understand conceptually of what's trying to get done. But there's always competition. No one can ever get in their comfort zone. Anyone can be replaced at any time, and that goes with any position on our team.
And last for me, it's hard to me. You know, I'm looking at the depth chart. Micah St. Andrew at center. I can't imagine there are too many 348-pound centers in college football. It's a large human being. I just, what about him? Why, you know, it's unusual to see a center that size. What about Micah, you know, believes, you know, makes you think that, hey, he can handle this responsibility in this position?
That's an old weight, too. Through camp, he's actually lost quite a bit of weight, so he's done a really good job. But he's still big enough for sure. He does a good job. You know, the center is really the guy who's directing the traffic in there, making calls. He can hold up. You get so many zero techniques these days where you get big noses over the top of the center and things like that, where you need a little bit of girth there to hold up over those things. So he's big enough in the run game, and he's got really good feet to do things in the pass game, and so he can get to second levels, things like that. So he's done a nice job with that transition, but he's smart. He's played a lot of games, and you know, so communication's a big deal there, and so he's done a good job throughout. And also Marcus Boyer is there. They've kind of gone back and forth of switching at guard and center, so it's nice to have guys that are interchangeable that way.
I guess I'm wondering why that guard center combination is the one you went with.
Well, there's a couple different reasons. You know, it depends on what we're doing with our guards. It depends on what we're doing with our center. Are we pulling them, or what are we doing with them? Who we're playing against. One of the good things about being able to mix and match those guys is the team we're playing. Where's the best matchup? And I think if we can match up well on the interior, then I think that helps us, And but Marcus does a really nice job of getting the second levels, be it on screens, be it on perimeter plays, be it on just being able to climb to the second level to get the linebackers. He's a 300-pound guy as well, so he's not a small guy by any means.
Coach, you've obviously seen Marcus all spring. How has he grown as a passer, since the last season? And what do you want to see from him in Game 1 to indicate that growth? And also as offense as a whole, what do you want to see from the offense?
I want to see execution. That's the goal always. As far as Marcus is concerned, I think having a foundation coming out of last season and through the spring has helped him. He works really, really hard. He's a student of the game. And I think when you have more confidence in what you're doing, lends to better play. And when you can play unconscious and really understand what's going on, which I think he's taken a step with that. But as always, the quarterback's job is protect the football, and not turn the football over and make good decisions with it. And he has enough experience to do that. And, and to put everyone else in a position to be successful. It's not just about his play. One of the biggest things for the quarterback is to make sure everyone else, all other 10 guys, are in a position to be successful, whether that be audible into a different play and getting us in the right play, or whether it's going to the right place with the ball and putting the ball in the place where a guy can run with it or not run with it, keep him out of traffic, put it on his back shoulder so he doesn't run into traffic. There's a lot of things that go into the quarterback play, managing the clock, game situations, whatever it may be, So his experience kind of would make you believe that in those situations you're confident with what he's going to do.
Coach, how much do you like opening the season at home?
Love it. Yeah, I love it. It's great. We're looking forward to being in Bulldog Stadium. Hopefully everybody comes out and, we have a good turnout there. The players really feed off of it. And there's a sense of excitement in the air for sure. And I know our guys are excited to go down that ramp and take the field in front of our fans.
Coach, you've got two redshirt freshmen that not only made the two deep but did it at different positions, and they were playing in the spring, Chris Gaston and Alex Cruz. How did they pick things up so quickly?
Well, just through practice. They did a good job. Gaston's a long corner and did a nice job, and he's versatile where he can go inside or outside, play corner, play safety. Cruz was he was a position change, went from linebacker to defensive end because we felt like he had some ability to pass rush and do some things there, and plays with a great motor and leverage, and so he was able to make an impact through fall camp here.
Ronnie is not on the depth chart, Ronnie Rivers. Can you give us an update on when he might be able to play and what your plan is for him this season with his injury?
Yeah, it will take it week to week. Don't really know right now. He's on schedule for sure. We have him on a rehab schedule where he's on a progression of what he does. Because it's not only about his foot and how that recovers or responds. It's about his conditioning level to make sure that we put him through like game-type situations, which is a lot of it. It's taking the ball to the ground. It's doing all these drills. So we have to make sure that he's 100% ready to go as if he were going to play a game. So right now he's coming along just fine. I can't say if it's going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I can't really tell. It's just going to kind of be how he responds to the progression that we're taking him through right now.
When he comes back, do you envision a 4 running back set like you had last year, getting everybody into the mix, or is Mims going to take the bulk of the carries right now and you'll see how it goes?
We will rotate our backs very similar to how we did last year. We feel like there's a lot of guys there that do some good things. We're fortunate to have all those guys in the backfield, and it's nice to be able to keep them fresh and keep them healthy. And the running back position is typically one that you're going to need some depth throughout the season. And so all those guys have taken a lot of reps through fall camp, and we feel like we're confident with what they all bring to the table.
What do you think about how the schedule plays out as a whole? Home for 1 week, on the road for 2, then a bye week before you're home again, and then conference play starts. Do you like the way it's set up?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much. I'm more focused on this Saturday, and we'll take one at a time. 2 road games is fine. The same thing we did last year, and then it's very similar to last year, actually, but the bye week fell at a good time last year where we went through some things that gave us one more week to get Marcus ready to go at that point. But the schedule is what it is, and we'll take it 1 week at a time. But really, the main focus is just right now on what we're doing for this week.
Coach, we talked a lot last year about the parallels to when you took over at Cal and when you took over at Fresno State, what you were inheriting. We see the turnaround. Is there something you learned from year 1 to year 2 at Cal as far as preparing the team psychologically to be the team with the target instead of the team chasing the target?
Yes, and that would just to stay consistent with who we are. But that being said, we could say it all we want in here. We just have to make sure that we're on top of it because, like I mentioned before, there's high expectations. Everybody has opinions. These guys, there's a lot of people coming at them with information. So we just can't be naive to that. We have to make sure that practice is what it needs to be, and the focus is in the meetings and the attention to details there every single day, and that we keep a chip on our shoulder. And the good thing about it is we fell short of our goal last year. If there's a positive to that the motivation's there to reach our goal. But there's so much football to be played between now and then that it's just really one day at a time. And there's so much that goes into it. It's trusting the process on what we do, and the process is everything. The process is how we get out of bed in the morning, how our nutrition, how do we eat, how do we recover, how do we go in the training room, do we take care of our bodies, do we get enough sleep, do we hydrate properly, are we going to class, are we keeping the drama out of our life? Because that makes the road a lot cleaner than if we have drama in our life because all of a sudden we're not doing the little things. And so the process is the biggest thing, that we trust the process and we stay true to the process.
Well, I understand people are going to get a little look at the process this week on television. 24 hours in the life of a Bulldog, a day with the Dogs is coming up Thursday night. Was that a little uncomfortable for you, having those cameras everywhere you went, probably even like brushing your teeth and stuff?
Well, they didn't get quite that close, but yeah, coming out of the house at whatever time it was, before 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever, was a little scary, for them with the camera. Me at 5 o'clock in the morning is not a pretty sight, but I think it's interesting. It's interesting to see what our kids go through on a daily basis. Really, when we're getting here they're getting here eating at 5:30 in the morning. They're going through a full day of meetings till end of the night, and how it all works together, how the training room works, how they activate in the weight room, how they have academic obligations that they need to do. They have a full day, and in camp it's busy. It's a grind, and so having this I think gives you a little bit of an insight of what goes on a daily basis around here in camp, and really the dedication and the investment that the kids put into this, and the coaching staff puts into it. And not just that, I would say this, that I'm so appreciative of all the people involved in our program, from the equipment room to the trainers to you name it, the people cooking our food, things like that. They did such a phenomenal job because it's a team effort. It really is. And because of the air quality through summer camp that we could not control, we had to practice early. And so and it was like at the last second we had to make an adjustment to call everybody the night before and say, hey, can you do this at 5:30 in the morning as opposed to 7:30? It's a big adjustment for a lot of people. And so the dedication that they had to our program, we couldn't have done it without them. The Megan at Campus Catering and her staff, Now all of a sudden they're getting up at 2 o'clock to get here at 3 to cook so we can eat at 5:30. So it affects a lot of people's lives. So the dedication of everyone involved in this camp was awesome, and it was truly a team effort. And even Matt had to get up early and be at practice earlier, and the media people and things like that. So, but there's a lot of people involved. There really is, and I'm just very appreciative of everybody that played such a huge role in throughout camp this year.
We haven't talked a whole lot about Idaho, but there's one player on their team that seems to jump out, sometimes even on offense. Caden Ellis. Luther Ellis was his dad. He's on their staff, great NFL player. How special of a player is Caden Ellis, and what does that mean for your team in dealing with him on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, well, he is. He's a very good player, very aggressive on defense, and then when they bring him in on offense, it's very seldom that you see that in football as a two-way player, and so he's deserving of being that. They try to get him the ball as a tight end in numerous ways on offense, but he's a talented guy, and so now, wherever he lines up on defense, we've heard two different things, where he's going to line up. But him and his brother are playing on defense as linebackers / out defensive ends. But good players, play really, really hard. Obviously, to be a two-way guy, you're very athletic, and he is. He makes a lot of plays for him.
All right, thank you, Coach. At this time, we'll let him go.
Okay, thank you.